Hey Mimi, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today on Provocateurs.
Exciting project.
Very
Love it.
exciting. And I'm so excited to dig into your story and journey. I know we met each other in business, didn't we?
We did. I was
Working
working for
for,
your business, Phoenix, which I loved.
yeah, you
Great
smashed it.
experience.
Absolutely
Thank
smashed it.
you. Thank you.
But today's about you and like digging into who you are, your story, your journey, what you do now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to start there. Like, who are you?
Yeah, so I am actually a few different people. My real name is Michelle, but I was born as a boy, so I was called Mitch at one point. And I changed my name to, well, it went through a few different stages. So right now I'm Michelle when I'm in business. So I have my own concierge business, which when I'm sort of meeting with high-end clients and stuff like that in Ibiza, I like to go as Michelle. But I also have like my fun side, which is like Mimi, which I go by like day to day with my friends and family. But yeah, at one point I was called Mitch, and I changed my name officially to Michelle when I was 18 by default. But before that, I called myself Mitchie when I was like 14 because I was obsessed with that show Camp Rock Disney, and there was a girl in there called Mitchie, and I was like so related to her because I was like, my name was always Mitch growing up, and I hated it because everyone, like, when I was going through my transition from being like Mitch to figuring out who I was when I was like 8 years old, I used to just hate the name Mitch, and I was like, why is everyone calling me Mitch when I don't feel like Mitch? Like, and then I watched Camp Rock, and I was like, oh my god, Mitchie, and I was like, can I change my name to Mitchie? Told my mum it was Mitchie. Everyone then started calling me Mitchie at school. When I went into high school, I went in as Mitchie, um, and yeah, then I sort of got over that era and then was like, I need to change my name to something more womanly. So yeah, when I was 18, I changed it to Michelle. But I also have an alter ego called Amber.
Oh,
So yeah,
who's
few
Amber?
different characters. She's someone that I made up recently, actually. And the name Amber came from basically when I was born. My mum got me one of them. Do you know the TY teddies?
Mm,
And it was called Amber. So it's always been like, I don't know, like a name that I've always loved. And yeah, basically, I used to do OnlyFans, and I used to run it all through my own Instagram under Mimi. But then this year, when I started my business officially and wanted to be more like professional, I sort of wanted to separate my OnlyFans from like my personal brand. So I made Amber. She's got a separate Instagram and a separate TikTok, and she's just me out of hours when I'm feeling a bit naughty, I guess. But yeah, she's also Amber's Instagram is also where I'm trying to funnel my like trans sort of support through. So I want to have my like Instagram for Amber where it's like a naughty side where guys can chat to me outside of my sort of Mimi and Michelle if they want to, and I can make money from that. And I used to do OnlyFans in a way more raunchy way where I was completely getting nude and whatever and doing a few naughty things, but right now I'm just keeping it to more glamour modelling. So topless here and there but nothing else. But yeah, nice lingerie and stuff like that, and there's a lot of guys that have like trans fetishes, and it's something that I wanted to get into as well. So yeah, I'm exploring that. And it's also going to be, Amber is also where if anyone that's trans comes across my Instagram and they want to get like any advice from me or support from me, maybe someone that's just in their early transition or someone who's already transitioned that wants to get advice on what I would do in a certain situation, or if they're going through dating dilemmas or just want to speak to someone that's trans, they can do that through Amber. So they can subscribe to my OF, my OnlyFans, and we can just talk on there because I actually run it myself. I don't have any agencies running it, so it's actually me that you're talking to. So we can, basically they can pay like a subscription to talk to me because I have so many DMs on my Instagram for work that I just don't have the mental capacity to be going through all of the requests from I have a lot of like trans girls that just want help. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're trans and you want help or advice or just someone to speak to, which is what I wish that I would have had when I was
yeah.
transitioning, like there wasn't social media then. Like the only people that I could relate to was like people in magazines or like stories here and there that you'd see on like the BBC, or like being trans when I was 8, 9, 10 wasn't like a thing. Like it was strange, like not strange but unheard of. Like even my parents were like, what is this, like we don't really know. Even like grandparents and family trying to get their head around it, because it wasn't spoken about then, but now it is. So it's like a really, I find it a blessing that I can help other people, which is nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So tell me about your childhood. What was that like?
It was, do you know what, a lot of it, it's coming back to me, but a lot of it I think I chose to block out. Do you know when you have trauma and you just like, just block it out? I think naturally that's what humans do, and it's what I've learned through like my psychologists and like therapists, that you do block things out that weren't nice. So my childhood was beautiful because my parents are amazing, and I've got amazing mum and amazing dad and amazing brother. But there's been very dark times from when I was like, when I first told him that I wanted to be a girl. That's when I remember the dark memories happened, especially with my dad and my brother. We got on really well now, but they really struggled with accepting it. I think my mum always knew deep down that I was either going to be gay or girl. She actually got told by a medium when I was like, I think my brother was like 4 and I was just born, that she was going to have, or she was pregnant or something like that, that she was going to have a boy and a girl. And then she found out that she had me, which was a boy, and she was like, oh, she was quite spiritual, and then she was like basically saying that she doesn't believe anymore in like spiritualism. And then when I turned 4 years old, I said to my mum, like, I want to be a girl. So it was like when I was 4 or 5 that I first said it. And then as a mum, I think she just wanted to sort of, I think she kind of hid it from my dad, because she just wanted to like protect me, because my dad back in the day was a very traditional guy, like lad's lad, like proud of having 2 sons. And then yeah, my mum still hides things from my dad to this day. Like we'll go shopping and we'll just hide things in the boot. Yeah, sorry mum. Hopefully dad's not watching this, but he probably will. But yeah, she's always like tried to protect him from stuff that might hurt him, or like, just because my dad was always such a grafter, and he used to be a black cab driver, and also a butcher, so he used to work really long hours. But yeah, he's definitely a lad's lad. He still is now, but he's very much more open-minded lad's lad, because he has to be, because he's got me as a daughter, and we've gone through such a lot together. But yeah, dark times I'd say were from the moment when I officially came out to my family, which was when I was 10 years old. We just had come back from living in America, so I grew up in Spain. So when I was 4 years old, my parents, in the year 2000, my parents decided to move abroad to Spain just for a better life for me, my brother, and for them, because England at the time was just going for a really bit of a dark time in the area we lived in Manchester. Things were changing a lot, and my parents just always had the dream of living abroad. My mum had like four miscarriages as well, so they've been trying to have kids from like, my parents got together when they were 15, so from being like, yeah, they got married when they were 20, I believe, and then from being 20 years old to when they first had my brother, which was when they were 35, they were trying for 15 years to have kids, and every time they miscarried it was a girl. So my mum had like 4 miscarriages, and then she had my brother through IVF, and then I came 2 years later just naturally, like a miracle baby out of nowhere. They just thought they'd have one, and then yeah, I appeared. So yeah, childhood I'd say was amazing. Like growing up, being like a younger child, from what I can remember being in the UK, I was always happy, like playing and doing amazing things with my mum, because she was very creative. And I remember living close to my cousin Keely. We lived on the same sort of street, and I'd always remember going around there and playing with her Barbies and like dressing up, and never wanting to go back to my house, because my house was full of boy toys, and like I'd be like, oh, this is boring, but she'd have all the Bratz dolls and the Barbies. And I just remember loving being at her house, and she had a trampoline, and like she also has a sister called Amber, funnily enough. Maybe that's another reason why. But yeah, I always remember being the most happy when I was with them. And her mum would do painting with us, and like her mum was a stay-at-home mum and my mum was working. So I remember just loving being around girls from the moment I can literally remember. And then I loved being with my grandma as well. My dad's mum, she'd let me dress up as a girl around her house, and she was one of the first people that I actually sort of really felt free around, and like I could be myself around. And I have a picture of in her mirror with my first like Disney dress on that she bought me, and she'd take me like in the 6 weeks holidays from in Spain. I'd come back to the UK and like spend 3 weeks with her, and we'd go to Disney, and she'd buy me Barbies and buy me dolls, and she'd be like, just don't tell your dad, like whatever you do, don't tell your dad, and we'd keep it all at her house. And then I'd come back the year after and we'd do it all again. It was so nice. So she's one of the first people I opened up to, and also my mum. And then my dad, we kind of like, I kind of was feeling like, maybe am I gay in the first sort of like, I remember from being like 7 years old, I was like watching television sometimes and I'd see like gay things come up, and I thought, maybe am I gay? Like, I don't know, just very confused. And then, but it's weird that I had that initial conversation with my mum when I was 4 years old, that I told her I definitely wanted to be a girl. But then like growing up, it kind of like went in stages where I thought, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm a girl, I don't know. And then this one day, I saw a magazine of a trans girl, or trans woman called Kim Petras. She's a singer. She's really quite famous now, but she did a article, and she was, I think I was about 9, and she's a bit older than me, so I think she was the youngest trans girl in her country to have to start her transition basically. And I remember watching it and showing it to my mum, and I was like, that's me, like I am that. I'd read it, the whole article, in like, I think it was like OK magazine or something like that, and I was like, that's me. And my mum was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, that's me. Like, that I read it and I was like, that is what I am. So then that was just after we moved. So we moved to America for 2 years. So we lived in Spain from me being 4 years old to being 8 years old. And then my dad got a really good opportunity to go and work in America, because he's an entrepreneur, he's got his own business, he works in real estate. So he moved to America for 2 years, and then that didn't work out for him. So then when we moved back to Spain, we moved to a brand new area. And I think in my head, I thought, this is a great opportunity for me now to be the person that I want to be. And that's, I think I actually read that article on the airplane journey back from, I think we bought this magazine in Madrid airport, and we was going back to Alicante. And then literally we moved back to Spain in the July, and then by September we was in a new area. I started a new school as Mitchy, and then everyone in that school didn't know any difference because I was presenting as a girl. I've always looked really feminine, so you wouldn't have been able to tell. And that's when we signed up to the GP there, and then we told the GP, and then it all started from there.
Wow.
I know. And then by the time I was 13, I started taking hormone blockers. So that's how it works, is when you're, I'm not sure what the legal age is in the UK, but I think it's around the same, where you can basically go to your GP. That's how you should start. So if anyone has like a thought that they might be trans or their child might be trans, the best thing to do is to first of all go to your like local GP, and then they'll then refer you on to like a specialist, which is what happened to me. So within like a couple of months, I was sat down with a specialist within like the trans sort of area, and then I had to go to that doctor, the specialist doctor, once a month for a year before I could start sort of saying that I was a girl. So they have to see that you're presenting in school or at work as a woman, and that you're dressing as a girl, and that you're happy as a girl, and that everyone else is calling you she or whatever pronoun you want to be. It could be the other way around, for you to be considered as the opposite sex that you want to change to, basically. And then we did that, and then by the time I was, I think it's 12 or 13, I was taking hormone blockers. So the doctor that I saw had realized how tall I was getting, and like sort of like they give you like, they have like they x-ray your hands to see what your bone growth is from when you start to when. So I started with them when I was like 10 or 11, and then over like 12-18 months they're monitoring my growth, and I was growing really quick, like getting tall really quick, and my testosterone was kicking in very quick, so they wanted to put a block on it as soon as possible. So basically that's how you start, is by taking hormone blockers, so that you can basically stop growing, and you don't get a deep voice, you don't get the Adam's apple, your hands don't go massive, or your feet don't grow. So now I have like a size 8 feet, which for all my cousins are really tall in my family, even the girls, but the guys are like 6'5", 6'6", so even taller than me. So if you don't stop it at a younger age, then obviously you can end up going like really masculine, which is really unfortunate, because in the UK it's really hard to even get on these lists, and people are sort of becoming men or women to like when they shouldn't, when it could be blocked earlier. So it's like, and then that's when the sort of suicide sort of kicks in, and then people are self-harming and not wanting to leave their homes. And like, unfortunately, I've been really blessed to have had it all like basically so easy compared to other people, and that's why I just find it so sad that what's happening in the UK is that obviously Rishi is like trying to not let any trans children have any sort of treatment until they're 16, and sometimes that's too late. Like if I would have not been given that hormone blocker when I was 13, I would have gone to the height of like 6'6". Like my mum measured, there's a way of measuring kids at a certain age and you can predict how tall they're going to be, and my prediction was 6'6". Now luckily I'm 6 foot, which even is taller it's tall for a woman, but I'm confident with it now. But growing up it was really hard, and I think that if I would have got to that high, I probably wouldn't be here today. Like if I didn't have that hormone blocker treatment, I definitely would have taken my own life, like 100%.
So what are those feelings that come up when you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, even having the hormone blockers and having such an amazing journey, even at 16 I tried to take my own life because I wasn't growing boobs. I wasn't like basically when you're 16 you can then go onto hormones, and I was on hormones for like 6 months and nothing was really happening, and it was just like at this point I was just so over everything. Like all my friends were dating, all my friends were going on girls holidays and seeing guys and having boyfriends and having their first sort of interactions with men, whatever that may be, and I was just at home like, what is this? Like I hate, like why me? If you know what I mean, like why has God chosen me to be trans? Like it's just very like, makes you very angry, I think, because you just feel like you've been segregated from normal people, and you can't, and all you want to do is just be normal. You just want to have a boyfriend, you just want to like go and be in a bikini without having to think about what you're hiding, or you just want to go on the school trip and not have to worry about like going into the toilet when all your friends don't know that you're trans. Like it's hard, it's really hard, it's awful.
And I guess those feelings must have been there before you were even 16.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was it like when you were younger, before you'd even come out and spoken to your parents about it?
It was hard. I remember just sitting in my room at night and thinking like, how am I gonna tell them? Like just feeling very anxious and nervous and scared, and yeah, dark places, like awful. Like I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Like obviously there's way worse things that can happen to you, but I wouldn't wish being trans on anybody. It's awful. But it's also now like, it has been awful, but now it's like a superpower for me, I think, because I'm so strong that nothing will defeat me, like nothing. I've been through way too much to ever let anything else like affect me in the way that did. And I'm just so lucky and grateful that I had an amazing family by my side, because people go through that alone because they get disowned, and like people's families aren't open-minded like the way mine were and are. Like that's why I just have to remember I'm very lucky and very blessed, and that's why I want to help other people, because I can now be a mum or a dad or the person that you don't have around you that's going to help you. Like I can be that person, I can support you, and I can advise you and just be someone to talk to. Like just at times it would be nice to just have had, like growing up I had no role models that were trans, or anyone that I could just go talk to and be like, what am I feeling this for? Like what are you going to do? What did you go through? Well, like there was nothing, no Instagram or Snapchat or like nothing like that. So I just feel like all them dark feelings, I want to help people through them, because I know how dark it can be. And suicide rates in trans people are increasing like every year, especially in the UK and America. Like it's like these countries are going backwards.
So what do you think the root behind the suicide is? Is it internal? Is it because of the external reception?
Yeah, I think everything. I think the fact that they're seeing that the country they live in is not wanting to accept them and see them for who they are, because obviously I completely understand that there's been some horrible stories where trans people have people pretending that they're trans have managed to get into like prisons and hospitals and cause harm, and that's really awful. Like that's awful to me, but I just see it as that's just a person. It's not because they're trans that they've done that. but like the awful stories compared to the amazing stories and the amazing trans people that are out there, it's no, I don't see how the UK and America could be going so backwards and trying to like cancel trans people. Like, how can you say that I'm not a woman? Like, just because there's been some sort of like situation happen in certain areas, like how can someone define your future? Like, I don't, but I think it comes down to like them panicking about that and the fact they're never going to be able to have a sex change, because luckily my parents paid for my sex change when I was at a certain age. I can't remember if I was 18 or 19, but as soon as we could do it, we did it, basically. I think it was even my 18th birthday or my 19th birthday, I always forget. But anyway, that's so lucky. But there's people that are my age now that haven't still had a sex change. And I've had 10 years of being me with my newly found vagina. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm so blessed. And I think it's the thought of like them thinking like, what, I'm never going to have that. Like, and then just thinking, what's the point in being here? Like, and also the fact that they might go outside and because they're not on hormones, people will realise that they're trans. Like for me, I present as a woman, there's the rare occasion where someone might be like, are you trans, by the way? Or like I had a doctor say to me the other day, like, that I was speaking to, he was like, are you trans? But only because he works within the trans community that he realised. Or there are times, but most of the time I am very passable and I feel very confident, but there's many of trans people that will not be on the medication yet. They're on waiting lists for years, like just waiting for the initial appointment. So I think it's that, like.
And does that create a level of like division or almost like hierarchy within a trans community as well?
Mm-hmm. I've had messages on TikTok when I first came out of like trans people that were just calling me like entitled, or like saying stuff like it's okay for you to be sharing your story when you've had it so easy. But there's also the beautiful side. I've got a lot of trans friends now that are just very supportive, and like I think you just have to be able to accept that everyone's journey is different. I mean, even when it comes down to just being a normal person, like everyone's journey is so different. Like you might come from a rich family, you might come from a poor family, you might not ever make it as who you want to be because you don't have the help that you might have had if you had an amazing family who've got money. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just have to accept that just because we're trans, we have different stories, and that's what we can all help each other with, I think. But and I get why they would be jealous, because I felt jealous about this girl when I read that magazine that she was having this treatment and I wasn't. Like, I think, especially when you're younger, like you will feel, it's natural to feel jealous for someone that's in a position that you want to be in. But I think instead of being jealous, you can try and like learn or see if they can help you, or like I'd really love to have a charity one day where I could help like other people to get surgery and treatment, because I just don't see it going anywhere in the UK. And like I think it's going so backwards that people are having to go private, and it's so hard to fund that. Like I've been in dark places where I've done dark things to fund surgery, because there's been times when my parents are successful, but there's been times when they can't afford $5,000 to get me a nose job. Do you know what I mean? Or there's been times when they haven't been able to pay for some surgery that I've had, and I've had to do things that I wouldn't do now. But there's another dark side of being trans, is that a lot of people work in the sex industry, and it's like dangerous as well.
So with working in the sex industry, for you, what was the driver? Why were you so driven to need to do that?
Yeah, so I worked in the sex industry for like 18 months, and I used to work as a foot fetish model. So I'd have guys I'd do it for a platform called Adult Work, and I'd have guys come to a hotel room and basically like worship my feet, which there was some funny stories, and there's some amazing days, but there's also some very like days when I was like quite scared, and I had a few like situations of men that were like very intrusive and like borderline, like could have been very dangerous. But yeah, my drive for that was that I had these like dodgy implants, and at the time my parents just basically couldn't afford to pay for it for me, so I was like wanting them out, wasn't feeling confident, like I wanted to have this boob job so bad. So I basically just found this guy who ran this agency and managed to save up 10 grand within like that period of time and get the surgery, and then felt happy again. So yeah, I'm grateful for doing it. But there definitely could have been other ways for me to save that money, but I don't think I could have saved 10 grand in that period of time without doing that, and without it being so easy. But also there's nightmare stories that I've heard of girls that have been raped or like beat up, or like I never told any of these guys that, none of these guys ever knew that I was trans when I was doing that. But again, lucky for me, they wouldn't be able to tell, like, and they were only touching my feet, so I never felt like I really needed to tell them or wanted to tell them, because that's when you can put yourself in danger. And there's also obviously a lot of trans women and normal women that are doing it in a much more like sexual way, where they're having full-on sex with these guys, and that's when it can become really dangerous. And it's a very common thing in the trans world. A lot of strippers, like all different sorts of like escorting and stuff like that, just because they want to be able to pay for their treatment.
And what made you stop? Because surely that to get that much money that quickly.
Yeah. I stopped once I managed to get the surgery, basically, and then felt happy enough.
There's a goal for
yeah.
it. Yeah.
The goal was to save the 10 grand for the surgery, and then in my head, like, I knew that I had to stop, because I had to, at one point, I felt quite scared, so I like had my brother in the area, so I got my brother involved, because it was getting like a bit like borderline. I feel scared, so my brother would sort of be on call, and then my family found out, and then they were disappointed, and then I just was like, I need to stop doing this. And then that's when I actually moved to, after that I moved to Ibiza. So that's when I stopped with my new boobies. And they were massive. I've had them done again since.
Have you?
Yeah.
So what have you done plastic surgery wise? So have you got a decrease?
I've got a decrease and an uplift, because I went so big. Like, if you scroll back on my Instagram, you'll see them fucking massive melons. So surgery wise, are you ready?
Go for it.
So I've had my sex change, and I had that done initially, and then I also had a revision a year later. I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was really, really amazing and supportive, and we went together to have the revision. Basically,
what is a revision?
So there's two ways of having a sex change from male to female. You can either have it with the natural penis and just use that, if you're lucky enough to have the sort of size and a good size penis. But because I'd been on hormone blockers from such a young age, my little penis was only tiny, so I had to use we had to do it the other way. I don't remember the name, and I should, because everyone always asks me, but basically they use part of your colon to build the vagina, which is what I have, and with that way of doing the surgery, there can sometimes be some complications where they need to add more skin and like just have another look at it, basically. So I had the surgery done, and then I met my boyfriend. So I had the surgery done, and then within 6 months I moved to Ibiza in 2015 to do my first season, and I met my ex-boyfriend there. He was on holiday, and then he was like the first guy that I'd basically had sex with. So after like a year of being with him, and having sex and using the vagina, there was just some things that needed to be retouched and rejigged and perfected. So yeah, we did that. So I had two sort of, the main sex change and then like a revision. I've had a BBL and full body lipo. I've also had a rhinoplasty, and then I had a revision rhinoplasty because I still had a little bit of a hump. So I had the rhinoplasty where they don't cut you here. Yeah, they just go internal. Had that done in London. I've had 3 boob jobs over from being like, I had my first boob job when I was 17 in Spain, and then I've had 3 in total. I've also had a forehead reduction quite recently. I had a brow lift here. I had my eyes lifted. I had a lip lift, so I got a little scar here. I had a mid face lift and a neck lift. What else have I had? I think that's it. That's quite a lot.
And these are all permanent things.
Yeah, I had this fox eye thing done with threads, and then I loved it so much that I then wanted to have it done permanently. But I regret having the threads, so guys, I would not recommend the threads. I've got little scars here now from the threads. I just wish I would have had it done like permanently. But I have most of my surgery done in Turkey. I have an amazing doctor there. but my sex change was in Barcelona, we lived in Spain at the time, so we found a really good doctor in Barcelona, had my nose done on Harley Street, and then the rest of my surgery has been in Turkey.
Would you say like your surgery is driven from your sex change? Are these all like maybe more like say masculine traits that you want to change, or is this more vanity, more product of the times?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these procedures, loads of people get done.
Yeah.
You know.
I wouldn't have needed. If I would have just left myself, I would have just been fine to not have these done.
Got you.
Even from just taking the hormones, I grew like little boobs, like a B cup, and my body had like, the hormones make you have like a feminine body, so you get a waist, and I had like a natural bum and stuff. I think half and half really. Like boob jobs, obviously, yeah, anyone can get a boob job. I wasn't happy with being a B cup because I was so tall as well. I always wanted to have bigger boobs and just to feel more like womanly, because I couldn't have the surgery done till I was like 18, 19. At 16, that's when I basically was quite suicidal, and my parents then like were hunting for a surgeon that would do my boobs at 16, and we found one that would do it on my 17th birthday, so that's when I had my boobs done. And that's because I was just like, if I don't have boobs or something, like I don't want to be here basically. And yeah, I was like self-harming and stuff. Yeah, that was quite deep. But yeah, I think a mixture. I think the surgery on my face is called FFS, so it's called facial feminization surgery. But again, the procedures that I've had, some women have as well. Completely. So I had my brow bone shaved down as well, which is probably the only one that was because it was quite a masculine trait. Like only men have brow bones, really. There's like, I think there's like 10% of women that might develop a brow bone if they have like, I think it's if they have like naturally extra testosterone in their body. But yeah, that was the only one that I'd say was down to because I thought it was quite masculine looking. Luckily, I never developed an Adam's apple. Like I never have had like grown like hairy or anything like that. But I think it's all down to like vanity and wanting to look perfect, I'd say. But also it's a lot of the ideas came from following trans women on Instagram and looking at the surgeries they were having, and like BBLs at the time when I had mine done were huge.
When did you have yours done?
That just in after lockdown. So in lockdown I put loads of weight on, so I went from like being like a size 10 to like a size 18, just because I was so depressed in lockdown. I was like awful, like was eating the whole time because I thought I was never going to come out of it. And then I thought, you know what, when lockdown finished, I was like, I'm going to use all this fat and just make my body like so amazing. And I got this
lot of people got it done then,
didn't they? I got this massive bum and this tiny waist, and then that's when I started doing OnlyFans actually. Okay. Because I was like, I looked like just like a caricature. Like I looked like a fake person. I had these massive boobs, massive bum, and just made loads of money off it, basically. And then one day I was like, oh my god, this looks awful. I hated the BBL look and the massive boobs look, and then completely slimmed down the other way.
And I think it's good to know it's changeable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can change it. Unless you have the implants.
The money to do it.
I never had the implants, which I'm glad about.
So how do you get rid of a bum?
So just working out, like losing weight.
Oh, okay.
So the BBL basically is like when you take lipo like from certain areas and they put it into the bum and make the hips and stuff like that. So I still have the hips, which I'm glad about, and I still have a little bit of the fat in my bum, but naturally where I've lost weight, I've lost like 4 stone in the last year. It's all just naturally it comes off. It's just your own fat basically. But I've still got.
So it's not permanent.
Well, it's permanent if you keep it up. You have to go to the gym. Like if I would have wanted to keep the massive bum, you have to work out. Like, you can't just have it done and that's it. The permanent one is if you have the implants in your bum. Right. But I've heard some absolute nightmare stories about that. Like girls getting infections and like, 'cause they obviously have to put a scar, like open you up, and like I've heard nightmares about the implants, yeah. And I've also heard nightmares about the normal BBL that I had. But at the time, I was just like, I don't care. Like, there was no fear. Like,
do you want to get anything else done?
No, I think I'm done now. Yeah. There's some revision that I want to get on one of my nipples because it's like stretched out a little bit. And I also want to get the, because I have the uplift scar, I have the anchor scar now. I'd like to get it blended out. They do this like tattoo thing where you can just completely remove all of your scars, which is really cool. But apart from that, for now, I think I'm done. I think one day I'd have another facelift because I'm so happy with that. Like, yeah. Because I had so much filler, like from when I was like 18, my face had like dropped down, and like it had become like, when I removed all the filler, it was just like very like not tight like it is now. My mum had a facelift as well at the same time, and she's so happy with it, and I think I'm going to have a facelift every 10 years now.
Every 10 years?
Yeah.
Can you do it every 10 years?
Yeah.
I thought they were a bit more permanent.
10, 15, like have a little nip and a tuck.
A little tweakman.
Yeah, I just don't want to look any older ever again.
Well, you look great, and you feel great.
Yeah, I feel great.
How do you feel about your body now?
Really happy. I'm the most confident in my body that I've ever been. And I think that's also comes down to the fact that I accept more things now than what I used to. Like, I look at myself in a positive way, and I don't, like, I used to have body dysmorphia. Like, at one point I was like a size 6 and I thought I was fat when I was like going through my breakup with my ex. And I used to just be, I never used to eat like hardly anything, and I would probably say that I was borderline like anorexic at one point when I was working in recruitment. I used to work in recruitment in London, and I remember me and the girls used to go on these did you hear of the Cambridge diet back in the day? Like, that was so bad. Like, yeah, I was literally, from my high, I think I went down to like 8 stone, which is really, I look back now, I looked awful, but body dysmorphia is definitely something that I've struggled with like my whole life. And I think it's only like in the past, I'd say since I've lost my weight, that I actually finally feel like comfortable and happy, and like I look at myself and I think, yeah, you look good. But yeah.
What do you think that change was? Like, what made you have that realisation that you look good?
I think just actually realising that to actually be what I wanted to be, I had to have a healthy diet, and I had to work out, and actually like being active, and just losing the weight naturally. And like I will admit I did take semaglutide slimming injections to help with the first couple of months, but I completely I only took them because, again, my weight's always fluctuated and I've always had an unhealthy relationship with food. And I came across semaglutide slimming injections, and I was going through a time in Ibiza last season where I was working for a company that was just a really bad experience, and I'd put weight back on again. This was in 2023, and it was towards the end of the season, and I was like, it's happened again. Like, I've gone back up to a size 16, and I was just like, how am I going to get rid of this weight? And one of my friends was taking these skinny jabs, and I was like, let me just try it. And within the first month, I'd lost a stone, and I was like, wow. And in that first month, my complete addiction to sugar and salt that I again had started from this job that I was, whenever I'm stressed, I either don't eat or I comfort eat, and then that's when I fluctuate. So the semaglutide skinny jabs really helped me to like completely just change my mindset with food, and now I'm not on them anymore because I managed to lose the amount of weight that I wanted to. And since stopping them, I've even lost more weight because I realised that the only way to do it is to just completely change your lifestyle. Like, it's not a shortcut. Like, it's not, you can't do yo-yo diets. Like, you need to think, what is going into my body and what am I doing to work out, and like completely just, it's a lifestyle change. There's no other way to do it. Like, and it's taken me 10 years to realise that. Like, taking shortcuts and not feeding your body with what it needs to be fed with, and just doing silly things, you'll always go back to. And
it's only 10 years. Like, you're only 28, you said 29? Mm-hmm. I had an eating disorder when I was 16, to me, being critical, I weighed 5 stone, BMI of 12.5, and definitely through a lot of my 20s went through a lot of body dysmorphia.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
Especially as women as well, like. Yeah. I think it's hard, like the pressure of like, even like pressure now. I look at my cousins and they just like, I think, imagine the pressure we felt just by having magazines and like television to what it is now.
With social media.
Social media is crazy. Even when I flick, I think, oh wow, look at her, or like, like you compare yourself naturally, and then you think, stop, like, because people are comparing themselves to you, even though you don't realise.
And also, like, as you said, what's been the process? So I think a lot of my journey with it, how do you look like that? Yeah. Like, what's your lifestyle? Like, what are you doing? Do you want to do that? I know I showed my boyfriend a picture the other day of me when I was well, so I was mid-20s, 26, so lean, probably about 11.5 body fat percentage, which is tiny, tiny. Mad, crazy tan, big back extensions, all the Botox, all the everything. At 20, I think it was 25, 26, and I remembered, because I remember we were having this conversation, it was like, do you prefer yourself now or then? And I said, there's a part of me that actually prefers me then. I was really honest about it. I said, there's a little part of me, and then I went, but
mentally,
let me remember, what was I doing then? How was I living? What was I like to be around as a human?
Yeah, because you're just aggy, like,
I was aggy. I wouldn't eat out easily. Everything was effortful. It was a calorie controlled diet. I was stressed to the max.
Same. I used to be addicted to my Fitness Pal.
Yeah,
addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like addicted to it.
Yeah, and that was so unenjoyable as a life experience. So you can look at a picture and go, God, I look good. And then you go, and I also look amazing now because I have
and mentally,
the healthy habits.
Like,
like you, I love the gym. And I think there's such an amazing thing in the body, or in anything, even in business or life, when you've had to work hard for something. You've had to put in time and you've developed yourself with that. When you can just take a quick fix for everything, there's no process.
No.
And we need the process to kind of be emotionally involved and then get that, I think, greater sense of achievement, I find anyway.
Yeah, like even with the skinny jabs, like I stopped taking them and then I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to put the weight back on, and I did start to, and I was like, you can't rely on stuff like that. You have to, you can have it as a booster to begin with, maybe. Like, obviously there's different opinions on Ozempic and Wegovy and all these things that are going around now. I'm grateful that it gave me a boost, but I definitely could have done it on my own if I wanted to. Like, it's all about just being ready for the challenge and like just doing it in a healthy.
Grounded in it. You've got from what I've heard, you like when you got your 10 grand. You stopped.
Yeah.
Your mindset's quite. Would you say you got a strong mindset?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I've been raised that way. Like, my parents have got very strong mindsets. They're both very independent, and they've both like made me realize that you can mess up and like it'll be okay. Like, you can still like reverse like mistakes and learn from them, and like I think everything's a lesson. I'm very stubborn that I won't listen to them. I'll be like, let me just learn for myself. Like when I told them I was going on Ozempic, they were like, no, and I was like, yeah, sorry. Or like when I told them I was working in the sex industry, because I've always been very open with them, because we've got that relationship. Like, they've seen me in like the worst states, and I've always told them what I'm doing and what I'm up to, because I'd hate for them to not be in the loop and then for something to have happened, and then just as a family we tell each other absolutely everything, which is a blessing. But yeah, I've always been the kind of person that will just ignore everyone else and just do it my way, and then think, oh fuck, I should have listened to them. But very strong
and good self-awareness to know you're
like
stubborn.
I'm a stubborn Capricorn.
It's great.
So
let's talk about dating. What has it been like for you dating as a trans woman, and when was your first? I think you said your first boyfriend was at 18, was it?
So my first like interaction with a guy was when I was like 15, and I had a boyfriend who now, when I was in Spain at school, he lived in the opposite town, and we met in this like nightclub that I used to go to, completely underage with a fake ID, and he was Spanish. He was called Juan. And turns out now that he's actually gay, which is really weird. But we'd hook up at this club, and like he'd always be like, "Do you want to come back to mine?" And I'd be like, "No," like we'd just like kiss. And he never knew I was trans. And then one day he was like, "I'm getting suspicious that you don't want to come to mine." And like I think it was like his 16th birthday, and I was just like, I had to cut it off, because I just never felt like at that age, until I was like. Until I was 26, I never felt confident to tell guys that I was trans, and I just wanted to live in this little bubble and for no one to ever know, and to just be a girl and just be like a normal girl. And that's not the way I would do it now, and it's not the way I'd recommend for anyone that's trans to go about dating, because that can be very dangerous. Like, the situations I've been in with guys where, when obviously my ex-boyfriend knew I was trans, like we met in Ibiza, and we were dating for like, I never told him straight away, but we was dating for like 4 months. So I met him in the June, and then I ended up moving back to the UK by the I think it was like November. So we was dating back. He'd come to Ibiza, I'd go to England, and then after like I think by the August, I think it was like our third or fourth date where he'd I invited him to my parents' house, and then I told him that I was trans, basically. But before that, we were dating, and I was sleeping with him without him knowing. So, yeah, that was. Now I wouldn't do it like that because I don't think it's fair. But basically, he came to my parents' house in August, and I thought, before I actually tell him that I'm trans, I want him to meet my family, and I want to see if he's going to be able to fit in with my life, and if they like him and he likes them. And then on the way to the airport, taking him back, I was like, there's something I need to tell you, because I thought, at least if I tell him, like, in the car on the way to the airport, if he doesn't want to be with me, then I can just drop him off and never see him again. And I told him in the car, and he was like, I literally don't care, like, I love you for who you are, I don't care about your past, all I care about is the person that I've met. So that was a really amazing experience for me as a first boyfriend, like a first real boyfriend. I also dated a guy from Brighton when I was like, before I had my sex change, and we used to sleep together, but it was like just like anal. Sorry to be like maybe TMI, but he never wanted to tell any of his friends, so I never felt nice about that relationship, because I never felt like I'd go to his parents' house, but he wouldn't let me meet his parents, or like it was like I was like a secret, you know. But he obviously clearly really liked me, but obviously I didn't have a vagina at that time, so it was just like that was a weird like short relationship. I met him at a festival, and then anyway with the ex that knew, I'm not going to say his name because we don't get on anymore, because it ended up being a really terrible ending to the relationship. And I don't want to mention his name, but he knows who he is, and everyone else who needs to know knows who he is. But he's an amazing guy, and I'll always have so much love for him because of the fact that he accepted me for who I am and who I was. And he decided that he never wanted to, and he was like, let's turn the car around now, like I want to go back. And like we basically ended up like just being like so in love. And then like a month later I moved back to the UK to be with him, and that's how I ended up back in the UK. So that was 2016 I moved back to the UK. But yeah, having him accept me as the person that I was amazing, because then I ended up moving in with him in the UK. We got our own flat together, and I experienced what it was like to be a girlfriend and to just be loved and to have sex and like to go on dates and to be shown off to his friends, even though he never wanted anyone else to find out. He never wanted his friends to know. He never wanted his family to know. The only person that knew was his mum, because she was like my mum, because my mum was in Spain. So yeah, was really grateful for her as well, because obviously I was going through this like time of like being his girlfriend and being accepted by him and her, but then we'd go out with his friends and I wasn't able to tell them like I'd want to talk about being trans. That's why I talk about it to my friends and make jokes about it. And I felt like even though I was accepted, I wasn't fully accepted by him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was really grateful for the relationship, because we had 3 years together and it taught me so much about being a woman, like cooking, like cleaning, like running a household and being domesticated, which was amazing, and just being loved, like, and being accepted. And then that was my first relationship, and since then I've been single actually, because that breakup literally traumatized me. It took me like 2 years to get over it, and I ended up moving back to the UK to be with him, and we was together for like 3 years, and then I stayed. So that was 2016. We was together in 15, 16, I think we was together till like 2018. And then but towards the end of our relationship, I'd gone from working at TK Maxx just as like a sales assistant to then moving into London to work in recruitment. And that's also what caused the rift in our relationship, just the fact that he'd gone from having me as like a part-time housewife / just being there, cooking his dinner, doing his packed lunches, like being this stay-at-home sort of part-time girlfriend, to then me being like, you know what, at 20, I think I was 22, 23, being like, this is not good enough for me, it's not what I want. Like, I'd grown up, I'm a qualified hairdresser, that's what I first did as a job, so I'd grown up working. I quit school when I was 15 and went straight to college and learned how to be a hairdresser, and then I'd just been working from being like 16 and making money, and I was like working at TK Maxx, and I literally hated it, and I thought life is more than this for me. Like, I know that I can make loads of money and be in sales, and that's always what I'd done. Even being a hairdresser, you're selling all the time. And then growing up being around my parents who were entrepreneurs and doing real estate, and I worked with my dad as well during the summers, and I'd always just been around people that were making money from people and watching that. And then I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I don't want to work at TK Maxx, like, fuck off. They were asking me to be a team leader and whatnot, because I was amazing at the job and everyone loved me, and there was times when I did enjoy it, but then there was times when corporate girlies would come into TK Maxx and I'd be like, I want to be like that, like I want to do that. Like, they pull up in their Range Rover and I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's do that. And then I met one of my boyfriends at the time, the one that my first boyfriend. He had a friend who had a girlfriend who worked in recruitment in the city, and she got me a job. And every time I see her, I'm like, please get me a job, like, please get me a job. And it took me a year, and she finally got me an interview. And straight away I got the job, and then became like top biller for London, and made loads of money, and I started making more money than him basically. And I'd stay out after work because I'd have to be with my clients. Like, I was building I started my desk, they call it a desk. So you basically, when you start in recruitment, you have no clients, so you have to build it up yourself. So I'd be running around London trying to get clients, like trying to build up my client base. And so naturally them clients, they want to meet you outside of work because they're busy, they want to socialise with you. As a woman, normally they're men, like, they want to have a flirt, they want to take you out for a drink, and that's how you win the business. So he thought I was cheating on him. It all became very toxic. Also he'd say stuff like, I brought you to the UK, I've given you this life, and now you're going behind my back. And I'd just be like to him, but why can't we have both? Why can't I have my life and you have your life and we bring it together? But he never wanted that. He just wanted it to be how it was. And I wanted to travel. I'd say to him, let's travel, let's see the world together, like, and then my parents even offered him the business to go live in Spain, like their business, and for us to run it together. He didn't want any of that. He's just a very stubborn guy. And I do get that. Like, I appreciate the fact that he had his own business and he wanted to be successful on his own. Like, he wanted to have a family, and I just wasn't ready for that. Like, and he was, and we was just on different paths. And it's a blessing that I never gave in to him and he never gave in to me, because I'm so grateful that we're not together. Like, because I then travelled and I carried on working in recruitment. I had like my single years that I'd never had when I was like younger. I never had girls' holidays. I never had like a single era. Then we broke up and I was like, this is amazing. I was like dating after work and I was like seeing all these guys, and like that's when I slept with quite a few different guys who didn't know I was trans.
So what was that like?
It was really fun, but also nerve-wracking. So I met most of them like after work, like on a Friday or a Thursday, and some through like Tinder, and like we'd end up hooking up. And every time I was thinking, are they gonna find out? Like, I was just nervous, but also like eventually when you get into it, it was like fun. Do you know what I mean? There's only one guy that ever asked me, he was like, have you got something to tell me? I say I probably slept with around, like, in that time I probably slept with around 40 guys. And I'm not ashamed to say that, to be honest. And I just had a complete like blowout. I had my own apartment, and it was like amazing, like by the river in Kent, and I was just living life. I was just like having parties all the time and like just going wild basically. And then this one guy, he was like, there's something you want to tell me, like when we was mid having sex, and I was like, oh gosh. I was like, no. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, no. And he's still like, we still like finished off and like we spent time together, but I think he was trying to like maybe say that if you want to tell me, you can tell me, like I'm fine with it. But I was just like, no, there's nothing I want to tell you. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And I'm assuming that it was about that.
Right.
But yeah, apart from that, I never had any bad experiences. I also dated a guy during lockdown that I regret not telling him, because I feel like it really affected him when I did come out as trans.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been another guy that I slept with who got really angry when I came out. I actually received quite a few death threats from these guys, like 3 different guys.
Who you'd been with? Yeah,
who I just had like one night stands with, or like dated like for a few dates and not told them. So that's when basically I went celibate. When I came out as trans, which was 2 Christmases ago, I was in Dominican Republic, and it got to the point where I was like, I just want to come out as trans now. So I did
Oh,
it
you mean publicly online?
Yeah, online. So I made like a little sit-down interview, so made my own little coming out video, and I just knew that when that came out, I wanted to do it for myself, but I also wanted to do it for other trans people to show them that you like it's hard and but you can do it, and I can, with my story, hopefully you can relate to what I've been through and see it as like there's someone out there that's the same as me, if that makes sense. So I wanted to do it for myself, but also for other people, but also for these guys in a way, for them to see, like, just for me to get it out there and get it off my chest. Like, I didn't want to go around telling people individually, I'm trans, by the way. I just wanted it to be out there and off my chest, and then I knew that it was going to blow up and it could be some negative sort of situations. So I did it when I was away in Dominican Republic with my family. Everyone was around me. And then I knew that I was going to be traveling South America for like 4 months. So I wasn't going to be in the UK. And by the time I got back, it all would have blown down, and it did. But in that time, like my ex-boyfriend's sister, she was messaging me with death threats because I think he told everyone that he never knew that I was trans.
Right.
So that was really awful. I nearly had to get the police involved in that.
Wow.
And then a lot of guys are sending me messages like, how dare you, like, you're disgusting, like, you should be so ashamed of yourself. And now I never sleep with guys without telling them that I'm trans. And at that time, when I was young, I was just so, like, I guess confused and scared and not really proud of it, and I didn't really own it. And because I got so used to not speaking to anyone about it because I was with my ex, and I never even spoke about it with him that much, like, never, like, hardly ever. He just didn't want to talk about it. And I just thought, you know what, that's fine. Like, I don't want to talk about it either. But then I realised over time, like, I need to talk about it. Like, I have to talk about it because it's such a big part of my life. Like, how can I not talk about it? And that's when, I opened up to, like, friends and started to tell people slowly, like, within my inner circle that I knew that I could trust. And unfortunately, some of them people told other people, and it started to come out. And that's when I thought I need to come out myself, because I didn't want it to come from other people. I wanted it's my story. I want to tell it, and that's when I decided I'm gonna come out publicly. And backlash was like, there was loads of amazing comments that went viral, and there was loads of amazing comments. But then from the guys, there was loads of negative, and from strangers, there was loads of negative stuff, like loads.
And what was it you learned in that?
That you need to be honest with people that you're getting intimate with. Like, not necessarily a date. You can go on a date and not like, just get to know them. You don't have to say way. Like, you know if this person has to know you.
Because it's an intimate part. So if you want to go to that,
like,
thing,
I'm on social media, but there's guys nights out and they don't know me off social media straight. I'm not going to just say to you, by the way, because I need to be even worthy of that. I need to know if I can trust you, or if you're going to poke me out.
It's like you wouldn't go to rest when you've just met them.
Yeah.
The thing, isn't it? Oh, here's where I live.
Yeah. Go around with your, like, medical on your forehead, which is the way I see it. And I get to know me as well as I am, without people, as soon as they hear you're trying to switch off. Some guys, you know what, no. I've had guys that have got to me, and then I've told them that I'm like, wow, I'm glad that you know me, because I've judged you for rather than for the fact that you're trans. Yeah. A lot of guys think when you say, they think you've got a massive dick skirt, like, which trans women choose to keep dick, but you can't tell I a boy.
Yeah.
It's after time so they can understand the story, and you can then slowly, like, I've been since I was like a young girl. I haven't transitioned because a lot of think in different ways.
Did you ever have sex as a boy? No. So what's sex like for you as a girl? I suppose you've got nothing to compare it to as a boy. But...
Yeah, so I never had any interaction with any girls when I was a boy. I never really even developed like a sex drive as a boy. Because I was on the blockers, it kind of blocks out any of your, like, sex drive. So when a boy's like 12, 13, that's when they're first coming into, like, their, like, horny stage, and that just never happened for me, really. But yeah, then sex now is great, like, just like normal, really. Yeah, I just have to like lubricate, which is what most trans women have to do, but depends on the guy. Sometimes it can self lubricate, but most of the time just have to use a bit of lube. And yeah, it's good. Can't complain. I enjoy it and they enjoy it, so
good.
Yeah.
And like with the guys that did come back and were angry, what was the root of their anger? Just the dishonesty? Or?
I think the fact that they probably wouldn't have slept with me if they would have known.
Got you.
And a lot of it, I believe, comes down to the boys that I was sleeping with were very much like lads, and the lads they have around them would be maybe like, if I found out that a lot of guys, if they didn't have other people's opinions around them, or the idea of the fact that someone's being with someone that's trans makes you gay, or it's just a weird thing, that they probably, a lot of them would actually be with you, but they listen too much to other people's opinions, basically, instead of just listening to their own. A good series to watch is Heartstopper on Netflix, and it's very much about like a girl that's becoming trans, and she's dating a guy, but she's actually not even come out yet, and it's really good, and it's very educational around the LGBT community. And also Pose on I don't know what that's on now, but Pose is amazing as well. And I think it's just about educating people and normalizing trans women, because like people think, oh, I've never met anyone that's trans, but you don't know if they're trans or not. Like, you know, I'm trans because I go around telling everyone that I'm trans and I'm a trans advocate, but you don't meet trans women or trans men because you don't know they're trans. Like, they don't walk around being like, I'm trans, like, or I'm gay, or I'm a lesbian. Like, they're just hidden in plain sight. Like, you could be trans for all I know. Do you know what I mean? Like, the doctor you're talking to, or the GP, or the girl that you're dating right now, she could be trans. Like, hopefully not. But yeah, it's not like we're freaks. We're just people. Like.
And how do you broach that conversation when you're dating someone?
I normally, like, it's funny you say, because I had an interaction with a guy the other day in a club, and we were dancing and getting close and whatnot, and I just said to him, by the way, I'm trans, and he was like, what, you're trans? I literally ran out the club, and I was like, well, that's the reason why I told you, because then I kind of had a feeling deep down that you wasn't going to be open-minded as a person, because of the stuff that we was talking about. This wasn't, normally I can suss it out pretty much straight away if you're an open-minded person or not, because I'll have conversations about, oh, how do you feel about like LGBT? Do you have any like gay friends? Or like, I don't know, where have you been in the world? Have you traveled? Like, are you cultured? Like, or are you just a person that's never left their hometown, who's got like chubby friends around them? Like, you can normally gauge it straight away. And then if I feel like I'm with someone that's open-minded, like the guy that I met this summer, I'll just tell them straight away. And he was amazing, and he fully accepted it straight away, which is great. But then, yeah, if I feel like maybe they're not going to, I'll probably just, say if we meet in a club or something like that, I'll just maybe like say let's just talk over text, and then do it over text, because I feel like that's a safer way of doing it when you don't know how that person's going to react, unless you're surrounded by people that are going to help you. Because there has been situations, I've never been in danger myself where I've been hit or like threatened to be hurt physically, but I know girls that have been. Yeah. So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And maybe do it over text.
And you're saying we
or phone call or FaceTime. Who
they are and what they're like as a human.
Because you never know who they are, what psycho they could be, or what they could do to you, or like just take it slow. Like, don't get into bed with them. Maybe, I mean, in my opinion, I have kissed guys and then told them on the next date. But even now, I probably wouldn't do that, because I know that there's some guys that wouldn't be happy with that. But I think first date, you'll in my eyes, first date, you're fine to just go get to know them to get to know you. You can find out what sort of person they are. Don't try and not get physical, and if they want to kiss you, just maybe then you could maybe be like, listen, there's something I want to tell you, like, and I feel like we're getting close and intimate, and I think you should know. Obviously, only if you feel safe enough to do that. Hopefully, in a public environment, surrounded by people, so that maybe like nothing could happen, and this guy's not going to get abusive towards you. I think if you're at home or in his house, or that's probably not a good idea, just in case, and you want to be safe, because there's been a lot of girls that have been killed, and especially in America, like stuff like that has happened. Even in the UK, like loads of deaths has happened from stuff like that. So you have to be careful, and that's my top message to girls, especially young trans girls and trans guys. Like, just be careful. Like, you never know who you're dating. Like, these people could be psychos, especially if you meet on dating sites. You don't know who they are. Obviously, if it's a friend of a friend, it could be completely different. Like, they could know straight away that you're trans, but every situation is different. So I think just approach it in a, like, situation by situation way, because everything's, like, different. But I normally go on a first date and then I'll just suss out if I even like this guy. Like, I might not even like them, so I might not even need to tell them. I'm not going to waste my breath and then, like, for nothing. But then if I'm still thinking, do I like want to go on another day, and just suss out again, and then that's fine. And then if there's a point where you want to get intimate with them, then that's when you need to tell them, just out of respect for them as well.
Have you ever had any situations where people, I know you said that you use your OnlyFans, your alter ego, Amber, but have you had situations where people have wanted to date you out of, like, this fetish and this idea? So many that want to do it and not tell their friends. So many guys that I know that, like, fancy me, but they don't want anyone else to know. So many. And I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine if you want to explore, like, a trans woman, but I will not be sleeping with you as a fetish. But we can talk online and you can find out. A lot of guys are just intrigued. Like, they want to know what it's like to talk to a trans girl, and they want to see your body. Like, they want to know what you sound like and what you interact like, and they just want to get that, like, I don't know, just something different, you know. And I'm like I said, like, I'm happy to be someone's fetish, but I will not be someone's fetish and date you and, like, give you my energy like that. But I just think it's fun that guys want to, like, know more. That's why you monetize it. Yeah. So through OnlyFans. Yeah, they can pay me if they want to talk to me about it, and we can ask. A lot of them just want to ask questions, and they want to, like, just, like, talk to you, really, like, virtually. Yeah, which is fun. So I find it interesting, the question. I mean, it makes sense. You wouldn't want to date someone because they're, like... No, because then you feel like you're not... Then I'm going backwards. Like, they're not actually liking you. They're just, like, getting a thrill from you. I can't remember when I was... There's a lot of girls that do and make, like, thousands. I remember when I was going through my eating disorder, I found out afterwards that one of the guys that I slept with, as I was just starting to get better, apparently only wanted to sleep with me because he wanted to experience someone who had an eating disorder. Oh, my God. And that was an awful experience, because you're like... What the fuck? You didn't want it for me, you wanted it for that. Totally. That's awful. And it was... Especially that. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? But people want to experience different things. Oh my gosh. I get the principle of monetizing it if it's... Yeah, so I wouldn't feel comfortable being a fetish in real life. Like, unless they're going to pay me 10 grand, then let's go. Or unless you're in a relationship and you talk about that, and then you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Every situation is different. Like, I'm always happy to make money somehow, but I'm not going to be an escort. But if you want to go on a date with me and find out about me and pay me, then let's go. But yeah, I'm nothing against escorts, by the way. I've got a lot of friends that work in the sex industry still to this day, but that's not me. So let's talk about your business now, because obviously you were working in the clubs, which is when we kind of met and our paths crossed. So you came out of recruitment. Yeah, so my journey in recruitment ended when lockdown happened. So I worked for Office Angels, and I still say they like recruit, like, admin, secretarial PAs, and obviously when lockdown happened, all them offices closed down. There was no receptionists, there was no PAs, they all got put on furlough. So I basically lost all my clients, and I was, like, basically going from making, like, 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month to making, like, my basic, which was, like, 2 grand. And I was like, shit, what am I gonna do? Like, I had this beautiful apartment in Essex. It was like, my outgoings were way more than that. I was driving a really nice car, and I'd not been saving any money because I'd just been living this, like, flamboyant recruitment life for, like, 4 years, where I was just traveling around the world, like, spending all my money on going out and extensions and blow dries and makeup and, like, having girls' holidays. And I'd never saved much money. I think I saved, like, 10 grand, and that's all I had. And I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? I had to leave my apartment in Brentwood, which I loved. It was so gorgeous. And I had to give my car back to Mercedes. I was like, sorry, can't afford this. And then that's when a guy approached me on Instagram. He was one of the boys that works for Magic Mike, another show and he obviously wasn't working either, and he started doing OnlyFans, and he saw my Instagram, and he was like, I think you'd be really good at OnlyFans. And I was like, okay. So then I started doing OnlyFans. This was at the beginning of lockdown. So what was that, 2020, was it? Yeah, I think it's like 2020, beginning March 2020. Yeah, so as soon as it started, after, like,
I think I was with Office Angels, and they literally sacked everyone, and that was just me and one other girl that were left out of like 30 girls. Not sacked them all, put them all on furlough, but me and this other girl were just like basically sat at home, picking up the phone every now and then if it rang, but doing nothing. And I was just so bored. I was like, what am I doing? And then this guy was like, you should start doing OnlyFans. And I started doing that. And then my manager at the time, sorry Mel, because we get on really well now, basically she found out that I was doing OnlyFans, and just because of the clients that I worked with, like I was working with huge clients, I can't mention their names, but like if they would have found out, it would have been really bad. Corporate client, most of my clients are really corporate, and I was trying to hide it from her because I was so broke that. But then I also I knew that I couldn't tell her, because if I told her, I would have got sacked. So I wanted to keep my basic salary at Office Angels, but also pump it up with OnlyFans, so I could get up to like $5,000 a month again, and then move back into London, or move, like, because at this point I had to move back to Manchester to be with my family, not my parents, but like my cousin. I moved in with her because I couldn't afford to live in the UK, but I couldn't go back to Spain because I was still working for Office Angels, and I wasn't allowed to go to Spain because all the borders had been like shut down as well. So I was stuck in Manchester, and I was just hating it, living with my cousin, and she's got a baby and a partner, and I was like, just felt awful. So I was like, I need to make more money so I can move back to London or move into Manchester on my own. So I started doing OnlyFans, and then basically eventually I thought, right, I'm going to stay in Manchester. So I quit working for Office Angels because I thought lockdown's not ending anytime soon. I was making like $1,000 on OnlyFans, so I was making like $3,000 a month. And I was like, let me find a job in tech recruitment in Manchester, because that was booming at the time. And I did, and I went to work in tech recruitment for 6 months, completely hated it, because I'd gone from like dealing with like even corporate clients, but them clients were like, the girls that I was dealing with were like all the office managers, the senior PAs, and it's like chatty on the phone, like to then go into working in tech recruitment, who no one wants to talk to you on the phone, everyone wants to email you or WhatsApp you, and I was like, this is just not for me. And I'd gone from being a really amazing established consultant and having my own freedom, so basically running my own business under Office Angels, to then this company I went to work for in Manchester was super like micromanaging. They wanted me in the office at like 7:45, even though I didn't start work till 8:30, and it wanted me to like stay at my desk till 6 p.m. If you went missing for like 10 minutes to take a call, they'd be on your case messaging you, and it was just like, that's not for me. And that's when I decided to move back to Ibiza. So then I moved back to Ibiza in 2021, and when I was in Ibiza, I then started to work in events again, whilst also continuing with my OnlyFans. And my OnlyFans was booming, doing really well on there. I think I was like top 5% in the UK. I was making like $4 or $5 a month. And then I met loads of other girls that were doing OnlyFans, and it boomed again, was all collaborating. And then that's when I met my best friends that are my friendship group now, and we were doing OnlyFans at the time, just traveling around, like living in Ibiza all together. And then in the winters traveling on OnlyFans money, which was great, but also shot girling in the winters with you, and making money like that, making good money. I think we'd all make great money with Phoenix, like £500-600 a night sometimes. It was like, this is great. Whilst doing OnlyFans as well, and then picking up fans from shot girling to subscribe to my OnlyFans. It all just worked really well. And then so then we'd do our seasons in Ibiza, come back to the UK in the winter, do shot girling, and then that led to me, when I was in Ibiza, to then networking and then starting to like meet high-end individuals and thinking, wow, like I can make money off these people because I know the island so well and they don't. And that's when I started doing like my concierge on the side, so like helping them find yachts and villas, and like just connecting people to people and making commission basically. And
Amazing.
that led me to then working for a company called Faith, and I learned loads from them, which was amazing, and learned how to be a proper concierge and how to like do all the marketing and how to like do deals. And like, even though I'd always worked in sales, it's completely different, and that's basically led me to where I am now. So I've got my own business. Amazing. It's called Collective Concierge, and I started it with my friend Jessie, but I've recently just bought her out because she's not interested in really doing it. She has her own business, but we started it together. It was both of our ideas, And she's just decided recently to take a different avenue, so it's just me now. But I've got a few girls that are working for me who basically have always had their own concierge clients, but now we've just basically brought it all together so we can all help each other out. And one of them does Dubai and one of them does Saudi, but in the summer they also do Ibiza. We all met in Ibiza. So yeah, that's what I do.
Amazing.
So basically when someone comes to Ibiza, can be anyone. Recently I've had like such a variety of clients. I've had like stag do's, hen do's, and then randomly couples, and then really like rich influencers or celebrities and like footballers. So it's like I love the variety of the clients because like you don't know who's going to message you and what's going to happen and who you're going to meet and like what they want. They might just want you to book a transfer for them from the airport, but they might want you to book a private jet for them. So it's like the variety is like mad. Especially Ibiza,
you can kind of develop and stay with them, and
they can then trust you then because you get to know what they like and what clubs they like and what music they like and what food they like. And I'd be like, listen, you need to go to this restaurant, like it's just opened, and they're not interested in booking their trip to Ibiza. They just want you to do it all. So they'll just tell me when they come in, and I'll just be like, okay, and then I'll send them the itinerary, and it says each day what they're doing, where they're going, what time they're getting picked up, and that's it basically. It takes the stress away from them, and I charge them a one-off fee, and that's it.
Epic.
Yeah.
And so coming back to what you said about recruitment, there's just one question I want to ask you there with awareness of women and men that are doing OnlyFans. What would you say for their future job prospects, just to take in mind from what you learned?
Yeah, I'd say if you can keep it separate and you can keep it under a different name, then do that, because it can affect you. And it's even affected me this year, where I had a client whose wife found out that I was doing it previously, and I lost the client. And I'm very...
That's for your concierge?
Yeah. So she was obviously just maybe, I don't know what she was, but I basically lost the client because of the images that had been leaked. So I got some images leaked online, and she must have done a Google and found them. I pay every month a subscription to get content taken down, but there's accounts that leak your content. So there's like Reddit, it's called Reddit.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people leak OnlyFans content, and I think think about it properly before you go into it. Especially if you want to work in corporate. I know now that I don't want to work in corporate, and I'm not going to probably won't work for anyone else again in my life, thank God. Yeah. And a lot of my clients are like, when they find out, they're like, oh, go girl. It's like I have a lot of like clients that love it, and then there's some clients that I know. Every client that I work with is so different. I wouldn't like, there's clients that I've got loads of like influencer clients, and they just get it. They don't care. They do it themselves. But then I've got clients, like you say, like from Saudi and Dubai, and you need to be in a suit, and you need to be like looking corporate, and they don't want to talk to you about your personal life. They just want to just deal with you as a professional woman. So I think don't just go into it with the money in mind. If you're gonna go into it, like think of like, I always think long, like I always think long term. Like before, when I started doing OnlyFans, I was like, oh fuck it, I just want to make money and travel the world, and that's what I did. But now you have to think of long term. You have to think about future partners, boyfriends, there's guys that I've dated that have been like, oh, you used to do OnlyFans, like don't want to see you. Like people judge you, and you either care about that or you don't. Like I care about it now, but before I never used to care about it. That's why it's separated for me.
And I think for you, there's a wisdom I'm hearing that you've learned through your lived experience. So like you can kind of, you've done it and you've learned from it. So that's now the choices that you're making. Yeah. I know I interviewed one of my friends. She actually lives in Ibiza. She has a mental health charity for porn stars.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Yeah, Leah.
Because I think I got sent a job. She wanted to hire a PA. Yeah. And she wanted to interview me, but I couldn't. Like, because I've done PA work in the past, I couldn't have made it work because I was so busy with my concierge. But I think she wanted like a part-time PA. I think it's her.
Probably, yeah.
Does she lives in the north as well?
No, she's in the south.
Oh, yeah. I think it must be her though, because there can't be two charities like that, can there?
No, it must be her. Yeah,
yeah.
No
She's lovely though. I spoke to her.
Awesome, yeah. So great. But she was saying that when she went into the industry, she's been in the adult industry for her whole career. She treated it like this is a career, you know. And
you have to
traverse and like gone into different positions within it. But that was her big thing. You got to see the long term game on it. And
like you can last forever. Like if you wanted to. Like my friend Mia, she owns it and she's making loads of money. Like. she just doesn't like, that's what she's going to do forever. Like,
Yeah.
she hasn't got a plan to do something else. Like, she wants to do that, and she's learning how to DJ, and like, if that's your career goal, then amazing, like, own it, rock it. But if it's not, just be careful. Like,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, because it can affect things and close doors, unfortunately. Especially if I've realised, like, there's programs that have approached me and I'd love to be on television that have, it's just no, straight away.
Okay.
Yeah, like two huge shows that as soon as they found out I used to do OnlyFans, they were like, no, sorry. Yeah, like ITV and Channel 4. Yeah, which is really shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does impact prospects.
Oh yeah, I've got two of my other friends that have also interviewed for TV shows, Love Island. They just said no. Yeah, and they could have now been like super rich, like from Love Island. Yeah, and another one was MTV. They just don't like it because I don't think it's because they don't like it. It's because of the public audience that are watching it that wouldn't like it. Do you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone Googles everything, and everyone, it's just a topic that they don't want to have around them, and I get it. Yeah. Because it can affect their views, and like it's annoying that something that you did when you were younger can affect you now. Like, so that's why you really have to. And my advice would just be like, think about it. And if you want to be on TV or you want to do something specific, then just don't, like, maybe just try something different first before, like shot girling. Like, you can make the same money shot girling.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
If you work Friday and Saturday as a shot girl.
If you're a grafter and you go chatting.
Yeah.
For sure.
You can make more money than OnlyFans girls.
Yeah.
100%. And you don't have to do as much work. You don't have to get naked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say that. Definitely another good, like, alternative.
Yeah.
To OnlyFans.
So the last question is, what is your hope for the trans community?
My hope is that more trans people share their personal experiences and that we all sort of come together as more of a community, like gay people and lesbian people. And I think that we don't. But my hope is for it to just be more spoken about, for us to have more trans representation on television. Like, I don't see any trans presenters on This Morning or Loose Women or trans radio presenters. Like, I'd love for there to be more of that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it just more everywhere, basically. And for it to be more spoken about and more normalised and just less of a weird, you're a weird person, because everyone's listening to Rishi in our country, and he's making it like normal for people to look at trans people differently to just normal people. So I'm just hoping that he goes soon and someone else more open-minded comes into government, because people listen to people like that, unfortunately, and I totally hate him, and he's the one person in this world that I hate, and I don't hate, well, him and Trump, to be fair. I don't really hate many people, but yeah, I just hope that other people come into government power that are more like open-minded, and that we can then be more accepted, and for there to be more sort of talk about it on televisions and radios, and like even like in the jungle. I've never seen a trans person in the jungle. Maybe one, but I don't remember. Do you? Like, I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. Like, it's just crazy. Like, people need to, ITV and like Channel 4 need to get more trans people on television, basically, because that's the main place where it comes from. Like, people need to be listening to people like me. Like, I want to go on Big Brother and just talk about it. Like, I'd love to do that. Just more representation, and like for every 10 people, I think there's like 2 trans people, something like that. Like, it's crazy, but where are they? They're not being seen, and I hope they are, because then young people watch these shows and like sit down with their family at night and watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or watch Big Brother, and they might be thinking, oh, well, maybe that's me, or maybe it's not, or like, just needs to be more in, like, families that are at home need to be educated so they can educate their children and think, maybe he's trans, or maybe she's trans, or maybe they're not gay, and maybe I need to talk to them about what they are, because parents are not educated, and then their child might be in their room thinking about committing suicide, like, which is what could have happened to me. Do you know what I mean? If I didn't see that magazine cover, like, I would have been confused until the only reason I realised I was trans is because I read that article. I never knew what it was. Just was confused. Just thought, why am I a weirdo that wants to dress as a girl?
Powerful.
So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Me, Michelle, Amber.
Yeah.
I've really loved today.
I
Thank you
know,
so
me
much for being
too.
so open
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
honest
I love
and
it.
real. I think there's going to be so much value in here for people. So
Yeah,
thank
I hope
you.
so. I
Thank
love you all.
you.